Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone.
Oh,
Hello, Amir.
It's nice to see you, David. How are you feeling?
like garbage, but I'm getting better.
Aw. I wish you a speedy recovery. Hope you feel better real soon.
Me too. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody. So, for being understanding. I don't recommend COVID. That's my message.
Cool. Let's get started. Welcome everybody to the August 3rd Identifying Security Threats Working Group meeting. If you don't have the meeting notes, I posted them in chat. I still need them. Let me know again. I'll post them again. But if you don't mind adding yourself, just so we have attendance. Is there anybody new that would like to introduce themselves? Now's a good time. Works too. Okay, awesome. So following up on last time, I was supposed to send out a doodle poll, which obviously I did not. I can do that right after this meeting, or we can just kind of look at it. Really what I want to make sure is the time zones that folks are in that either are participating or would participate if this were a different time would work. I'd rather not do something that I'd rather not. I mean, if I can avoid having like subgroup A attend the like Pacific time friendly zone, the friendly slot, and like group B, which is like completely different people, attend the other one, that I think that would be preferable. I'd like to keep as many people as possible. So I think what I'm thinking is, if you don't mind, add yourself and what time zone you're in, and then I'll try to find the least painful for everybody, and I'll do two. I'll still do it where there's like, you know, 2 meetings a month. One meeting will be friendlier for one subset and one will be friendlier for the other one, but I'd rather not make it absolutely horrible for anybody if I can avoid it.
Thank you.
Cool, perfect. Okay, so we can do project updates and then other topics. I think it probably would make sense. And in fact, maybe I'll just add that in. If other folks have topics, preempt mine, but as a backup, kind of like other strategic initiatives, like basically open brainstorming. If there are things that we think we should do, like, let's get a list out and see if anything sticks. So with that, Christine, would you like to give an update on office hours?
You said office hours?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Security metrics.
Oh, okay. We met briefly last Thursday, and we need a decision. We need a decision on, because the original goal of the project when it spun off is to see what we wanted to do with the future of metrics, and it's a bit confusing with what's going on with Stream 2. So we kind of like need a decision, and if that's still like the way we want to go, or what we want to do with it, because it's sort of like in a weird kind of like standstill. There's still a lot of confusion out there, so that's what we're looking for right now.
Got it. Do you have a contact, or do you need to be connected with other folks to kind of align there, or is it just waiting for like are you waiting for a specific decision, or is there this...
We were going to reach out to potentially you, because you were the one who originally sort of like kicked this off and said that this is what I'm looking for, because the site isn't sort of like a place where it's not being properly maintained and we need someone to do something about it. But now knowing that there's this going on with Stream 2 and potentially using LFX tools, but potentially the question is like, do your original thought of vision, is that still the way we want to go?
Sure.
Is it okay to just kind of, what are we doing as part of this group? That's kind of like the decision we need to make.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we have time now and we have folks on the call. Like, I certainly don't want to, pretend that like I own the decision or anything. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah. If we can,
you know,
we can discuss it here, even though the other team members are not here, I can probably pass it on to them. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'd rather not. Maybe it would make sense to wait for them to be able to join. How about this? Do you want to say in 2 weeks we'll make sure that this is the kind of the top item to talk about, and we'll see if we can get Jay and Vinod
Okay.
on here.
Yes, that sounds good.
Okay. And in the meantime, I'll try to connect with Brian to see if there's anybody else that's, I don't know, David, unless you know, anybody else kind of moving on anything with Stream 2.
I've been a little out of things, so
Of
there
course,
may
yeah,
be,
yeah.
so there may be other things I don't know.
Okay, I'll follow up with Brian and see what. Cool. Perfect. Let's see, security insights, Luigi.
Yeah, sorry if I'm missing the last meeting. Anyway, I have the script that can generate and verify the security insight YAML. I have written it in Python, but probably not the best choice because there is a lack of good library to handle YAML in Python, but it's work for now. I'm working to improvement and I'm writing a README so people know how to use it. I've written a comment in the draft PR that explained why I take some decision. And of course, if everyone want to rewrite the script or just want to add another tool that is written in other languages, it's welcome, especially because I think that JavaScript can be a good idea for this kind of tool. I have seen that JavaScript and NPM ecosystem offer a lot of packages to handle YAML. Very good.
Quick interruption. I'm very confused. I'm shocked that Python doesn't have. I mean, I just did a quick Google and I immediately find PyYAML. What's the problem with Python and YAML?
That doesn't support YAML 1.2.
Oh, 1.2. Why do we need 1.2?
Well, because it is the last version. And if we start to have versions that are outdated, probably it's not the good idea, the best idea. And in general, if we have a standard and we start to use old version, this means that it's not maintainable easily. From my perspective.
No, we're not talking code. We're talking specs.
Yes.
I don't know what the difference is offhand between 1.2 and 1.1, but it's often a good idea to not use the latest spec. Now, granted, 1.2 has been around a long time, so maybe.
Yes, it is. It's old enough. 1.2 is not a new one. I mean, it's just 10 years old. I think something similar. And in addition, PyYAML has the problem named Norway problem. So when you use in the PyYAML library, there is a problem that is called the Norway problem. It is how the dump function works in PyYAML. And so it converts, for example, like the Norway, I have added the link, but in some a short explanation is that some value are converted in the wrong way. So for example, if you have a float, it's converted in integer or something similar, and without an easy way. There are other libraries in Python that try to fix this, but every library has some constraints. So I am now investigating what is the best solution. But in Python, there isn't a very strong library to work with YAML at the moment, or updated enough.
Okay. Do we need the 1.2 capabilities, or can we just back off to 1.1? If they only support 1.1,
I'd rather not write the spec to what the libraries don't support.
Oh, I think that's normal. Writing a spec for a
Just-
library that
just-
isn't supported is a good, is not a good plan.
Well, right, but then we're eternally looking at like, so Python doesn't have one. NPM, I'm sure has one. I'm sure, like,
Yes.
you know, there were other options.
Yeah.
An even better option would be to like spin up a bit of work to like add 1.2 support to PyYAML.
Possibly, yeah. Absolutely. Okay, we don't need to solve the problem here, but this is a new issue I haven't heard before. So this is a new one to me.
I have written a comment in the PR. Wait, I have the link.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, but thank you so much for raising it. That's a new and interesting one. And there are solutions. We've already just noted two. So, but raising the issue is the first step.
A good reason to use the last version of PyYAML is that support more regex and more format for matching the value directly using the schema. So if we use the schema as sort of a source of trust or something similar, probably the last version is better than the 1.1 from my perspective. And I agree that NPM offer better solution, but I mean, I am just lower to write JavaScript code or TypeScript code, but I think that we can do it definitely with another language. And probably JavaScript friendly is a better idea.
Well, in any case, thank you for raising the issue. As I said, I wasn't aware of this one.
I mean, it was a surprise also for me. I have ranted a bit on Twitter also, but we can talk if we need to create a new library or just update the PyYAML that is technically the standard in Python.
Yeah.
And so the script is ready. I'm writing the README, so I can explain how to use it. It is a command line tool. You can just write the input. It's work. I have tested the sample. There are some improvements that I can do for sure, also in the code, definitely, but in a second moment. And I need to fix some typo that I have added in the schema for error, and that is. I have prepared the slide that you asked, Michael. I think that for this project, we need more people for sure, because for a lot of reasons, but because maybe there are people that have a strong knowledge in spec, so how to create a spec is not so easy. I have a study other example like Sarif and similar, and having more people involved in this project can help for sure. That is.
Terrific. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So for everybody else, if you would like to get involved, just reach out to Luigi and get involved. Amir, security reviews.
Yes, hello. So a couple quick updates. So added about 4 more in the last week or two. So that puts us at over 90 in terms of the collection. Need help with a couple of things. It might be something that we could maybe knock out really quickly right now as a group, just because I'm not super well versed with kind of the intricacies of GitHub and how things like Dependabot and how some of those automatic checks work. So if you go to the repo right now, it does say, maybe the main thing we can knock out as a group together right now is, it says we found potential security vulnerabilities in your dependencies. I think it's like an automatic Dependabot check. So maybe if we could address that, I just really wouldn't know exactly where to start or how to best handle that.
Let's do it.
Okay, awesome. So let me put in, here's the link to the repo, save you a couple searches. And yeah, you'll see right away, it comes up. Would you like me to share my screen too, if show it to everybody?
Why don't you do that? Because I don't think you see security alerts unless you're a maintainer, at least.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Oh, right. Okay. Give me 1 second. I just have to update my preferences. I make things I like blocked everything so that to be safe, but let's see, camera. Zoom. Okay. Should work then. All right, so I'm gonna try and share my screen again. Okay. Allow Zoom to share your screen. I already did that. Sorry, give me one more minute. Let me see if I could get that figured out. Okay, so it is gonna work. It's just gonna make me quit and reopen. So I will be back in 1 second.
Yep.
All right. And while he's doing this, I'm realizing that I'm going to have a question about the common criteria evaluations, but we'll let Mir come back first.
Hi again. All right,
Welcome
let's
back.
see if this works. I have a feeling it is. Okay, I believe it is working now. Okay. Can y'all see that?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, this is the main thing I'm talking about these Dependabot alerts. So I'll just click here, see Dependabot alerts. And let me hide this. Okay. So this is, I'm guessing, something that automatically gets generated by the Dependabot
Mm-hmm.
bot. Okay, so it's saying bot couldn't find a package.
Yeah, so what this looks like is if you go back to your source to the code tab, and you go to docs vendor select 2. So the version, so if you click on select2.min.js, it probably will have the version up at the top. 405, so it's saying that 405 has a vulnerability, change it to 406. So basically, check it out, grab the latest select 2, probably just 406, and then just drop it in there and commit. And that should resolve the alert. Alternatively, you could do this with an npm package file or yarn or whatever to kind of reference select 2 and then bring it in during build. But it's not like there are a lot of them here.
Okay.
So you could also, if you wanted to, hit edit and like go to a CDN and grab select 2 406 and then copy paste. I guess that should work too. So literally
Just change it to 6.
No,
Okay.
yeah, because it's the actual code. So
Okay. Yeah, sorry again. I'm kind of a noob with this stuff, so
yeah, no, it's all good. This is actually good to kind of walk through. So yeah, so the latest version of select 2 is 410. It's a minor release, so it, yeah. Let's see, 40. It's kind of interesting because the I don't see anything in the 406 release notes that looks like a security fix, but that doesn't,
We are watching the sausage get made here.
no, this is good. This is how it works.
All right, so this is your way of selecting out.
This is just a fancy select box.
Okay.
Yeah, and here's it. So, actually, this is good to kind of walk all the way through this. So the first question I would ask is like, are we actually vulnerable here? So if you go back to the security tab, and then find that, Dependabot alerts and click on that. So improper neutralization of web page. So it's cross-site scripting through HTML templates when used to display list box data. So if you give it, script alert 1, then it will run the alert.
Yeah, I have to admit, I mean, with a minor release like this, unless there's some reason not to, I'd say just update and be done with it.
Oh, totally right. But the question of are we? I mean, it's still interesting. Like, are we? So this is used in the quick start, which is a statically defined select box. There's nothing dynamic about it. It's not vulnerable.
Right.
Do we have to upgrade? No. Should we? Of course.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but more because there may be a future update that actually matters, so we may as well update now.
right.
I've also found that things that can't happen, sometimes those darn attackers find a way to make it make their dreams come true.
Yep. Cool. So the place that I usually grab these libraries is actually CDN.js. So if you go to CDN.js, and then search for select to.
Okay, so you're just going to update the URL. You can't just update the version number and have it update.
No, because it's the source code of select to is copied into the vendor.
That's unfortunate. Okay.
I mean, it's easy. So yeah, so select to, click on that.
Okay, how's this? Can we do this out of band? Because I see the issue.
We certainly can. Yeah, I thought it'd be interesting to kind of see the process of resolving these things kind of end to end. But
yeah, I mean, you know, just show what you're about to do, and then I think we can.
Okay, so I would have them grab the source code, like download that file and download the next one, copy them in, commit, done.
Yeah. Okay. And do an update. Awesome. All right. So I have a quick question. I don't really want to volunteer to do them all, but there's an old way for evaluating software called the common criteria. Some of you may already have these twingy emotions. It can certainly be used for evaluating open source software. So I'm wondering if, at least as a sampler, we should include a couple of the reviews of their security targets if they have something that's either all or mostly open source. I'm thinking particularly of, for example, there are final reviews of Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8.2 and SUSE and basically at least a couple Linux distros, because they include a ton of open source software, and you can then point to at least somebody has done certain kinds of reviews, fully acknowledging that there's problems with that. Well, in fact, all reviews have limitations, so including common criteria evaluations. Thoughts? I mean, I think one challenge is that traditionally we've been doing security reviews of very specific packages, whereas these are like for entire distros.
Yeah, I would be like, we have reviews that aren't necessarily comprehensive. So as long as we caveat that, I don't think there's anything. I think there's any reason to like fundamentally say, but if the common criteria review of, I mean, first of all, Red Hat 8, I think would be considered a commercial product. It happens to. So I don't know that it belongs in the open source security reviews.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna talk about at least U.S. law, all open source software is commercial products, because if it's released, as soon as you license it to the general public, it's a commercial item.
Correct, but isn't the license that one obtains when using Red Hat is not an open source license?
I think it's more complicated than that. I believe the source code is open source. But there's, I think basically they generate the binaries, and you also and there's a support contract. So, I don't think we need to delve into.
Yeah.
And SUSE has a somewhat different, and you've also got that said, if you wanted to answer the question, hey, has anybody looked at this open source, which I think is the question most folks are going to ask.
Mm-hmm.
The Red Hat one really bases itself on a couple key open source components like OpenSSL, some modules within the Linux kernel like the lightweight auditing framework and stuff like that. So if you were interested in that, I mean, I think it would make sense, even though there are caveats, but I'll also argue there are caveats for all reviews. There have to be. There's no review, unless you're doing formal proofs. Even the formal proofs, you have to look at what the assertions are. So, for most folks, there's always going to be a caveat. So I think that there's caveats, but there's always caveats. So why don't I pitch one or two, and then if somebody else wants to add more, that's great. But at least we can, it's a start to be able to see whether or not that makes sense, and then other people's can join forces if that seems to be sensible to them.
Yep, makes sense. Amir, how do you feel about that?
I think it's worth giving it a shot. Yeah.
Okay. Just weirdness for those of you who aren't familiar with the weird common criteria terminology. The process of evaluating an actual product and reporting basically here's what it does. The document that they evaluate against something called a security target. And the security target is the target for security purposes for that particular product. And the goal of their process is to show that whatever the security target says is actually met by the product. So you'll hear that weird terminology, security target, because that's the terminology they use.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, and this is against specific hardware too. Okay, so this.
Oh yeah, I feel like let me here. I'll pop in. I mean, there's actually a whole bunch of different docs you can point to. I'm gonna point up to the NIAP. NIAP is actually technically technically it's the U.S. scheme, but they also track what evaluations are done in other countries. So it's and then they've got a nice little search engine basically. So I want to use that because it makes my life easy, and I like making my life easy when I can do that.
Cool. Very good.
Awesome. And then, yeah, just to finish out the update, I might need to sync with Dylan on this one, but just kind of going over the automatic checks that happen when you try and upload a new review. I still get occasional errors with that, as well as maybe working with him on seeing how we could augment the overview. So, something that will show a good holistic picture of all the stuff that we have on there, and display it basically in an easy to digest way. So do you recommend I should probably sync with Dylan on that?
Dylan would be great. Yeah, if he has cycle, go for it.
Okay. Yeah, I know he's busy during our regular meeting time, but maybe I could get like 30 minutes with him and work out some of this.
I'm sure he'd be happy to.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that's everything I had for security reviews. Thank you.
Terrific. Thanks. Marta's not here, so we will hold off on office hours till next time. Although I believe there's some posts in the office hours Slack channel. So there is a proposal that was, I think we talked about that last time. Doodle for expert availability. So I think things are moving. Just stay tuned. I think we're going to have the first office hours, I think, later this month, if I remember the dates correctly. Cool.
And although it's not the same, well, quick heads up, the education SIG under the best practices working group, they're talking about trying to create something a little like office hours to support people going through courses. Basically, if they have a question, I think, frankly, there's a lot similar between that and office hours. It's not the same,
Yeah.
but but I think there's some similarities. So I don't know if there's any lessons learned that one can learn from the other, but I just want to raise it as other people are interested in doing similar things.
Do you know who, do you have a contact point in the education setting?
Really it'd be Krob right now. And there's a lady from who works with CNCF. Oh my gosh, I just talked to her earlier today. I'm so pathetic. Sal?
Is it
I
Sal?
blame
Sal,
COVID.
thank you. Okay, apparently, I will learn to think eventually. Uh, so Sal, if you're listening to this, please forgive me. So yeah, so I think Sal is very interested in that. Nothing, no details determined yet. This was just a discussion we've started today, but I think I think that there's probably lessons learned either way as we do each of these, but helping people out.
I mean, at the end of the day, a larger pool of kind of office hours experts,
Yes.
they should be able to handle both. Like, hey, can you help me, resolve these Dependabot alerts? And hey, what does
this mean?
Right.
Because indeed, they're both questions about how to apply security. Yeah. So I think, I think you were basically, we need different experts, I think, also because different people are going to have different kinds of questions.
Yep. Awesome. Any other topics that folks would like to talk to? Munawar, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you'd like to talk about Open Refactory and the Python work, you're welcome to have the floor for a few minutes and kind of chat about that, if you'd like. Otherwise, anybody else, welcome to throw ideas in the
hello.
Hello.
Michael,
Hello.
I haven't seen you in a while. It's
I know, right?
You have a hair. Is that a haircut I see?
No, I have a not haircut. I really need a haircut.
Okay. It's been okay.
Yep.
So sneak preview of my Black Hat DEF CON talk. Prior to we on Friday of last week we generated 170 pull requests to fix temp directory hijacking, partial path traversal, zip slip.
Very cool.
So
thank
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As somebody I know would say, you're doing the Lord's work. So thank you so much.
Heard that one.
Jonathan, you have scripts to generate this, right?
Oh, no. This is all using the Modern SAS. So the code use code kill to find the projects that are vulnerable, and then use Open Rewrite to do the refactoring to fix the vulnerabilities.
Yes, but you've automated a ton of this process.
Absolutely. I mean, all of it's automated, and then I get people asking me like, "Hey, can you write tests?" And I'm like, "No, I can't write unit tests. I would normally. I get it, but no."
Well, hopefully they already have unit tests to make sure the functionality keeps working. Right. Because it seems to me that's the key point is, it was working functionally before, it's working functionally now. You don't necessarily have to test for the vulnerability if it's clear that it was vulnerable and now it's fixed. I mean, you don't need a test for that.
Right. They just want to make sure there's not going to be a regression. It's like any change is one commit away from, or one change away from an accidental regression. So yeah.
Sure. Yeah. But that seems like that's much more of a functional kinds of question. They should already have a unit test suite, and I don't think it's reasonable to expect you to write their unit test suites.
Right. But they don't get. I mean, a lot of people. So the this is automatically generated at scale is like subtle in the message that I send out, because I don't want people to say, automated pull request, like go away. Like I want it to be clear it's actually from a person, because there's a person behind it, right? Like when they respond, because I have gotten comments that's like, like this is like a bot. And I'm like, actually, hi, I'm a person. I just used a bot to generate the thing, but like I am seeing your comments.
Right.
That helps. But then so there's a dialogue with other people that are like, they just see the pull request and they're like, can you add test? You fix the code. And I'm like, no, like I did this at scale. There's like 170 other pull requests and I can't do this scale. So yeah. yeah, so, and we're presentations are submitted to Black Hat DEF CON. They have them in hand, so yeah. And we've run it enough times that we're pretty solid on it, so yeah.
Very cool.
Spectacular. So
Who's-
congratulations.
Nice,
I know,
Jonathan.
yeah, I know it's not your first time doing this kind of thing, but always appreciate it.
Thank you. Who is going to be at Hacker Summer Camp? Womp womp.
I
There's a
I
hand.
am. I was thinking about it earlier, but I'm still recovering, and if I really need to be there, I'm off. But otherwise, I'm going to try to recover my emails, my
Yes.
my email inbox.
Good luck. I mean, especially well, if you're going to try to watch Black Hat and DEF CON talks in the background, good luck with that too.
Well, speaking of which, could you share with us either a link or at least something like that so we can watch your talk at least?
Yes, I will send that into the Slack channel.
Awesome, thank you.
So I'm giving three talks. There's B-Side Las Vegas, Black Hat, and DEF CON. DEF CON is the longest of the three because we get 45 minutes, and well, B-Side Las Vegas too. They're 45 minutes, and then Black Hat's 40 minutes.
Okay.
There's like one extra example that I throw in there, which is mostly a joke, like to make it extra humorous in the middle that I had to drop because there's not enough time for Black Hat. If you guys saw my Amazon incident vulnerability where they said, hey, they'd like to give me a bug bounty, and then they said, I said, oh great, can I but in order to receive a bug bounty from Amazon, you must agree to an NDA. And I said, I don't normally agree to NDAs. Can I have a copy of the NDA to read before I agree? And they said, no, that's sensitive information. We're not willing to provide it. It's like without. I'm like, well, what?
That's amazing.
Yeah. So they've since reached out to me and said, this is not our policy. We won't do this in the future. I'm like, but you did send me that email. So
hopefully you have corrected a problem for the future.
I want you to sign an NDA, but you can't see it before you sign.
Correct.
My mama told me not to sign anything before reading it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah. Apparently, yeah. So they're not willing. They offered to pay for they offered me $1,000, but
I think that actually just is a signal of hope for the rest of the industry, because when Amazon starts acting like the federal government, then I think there's hope for the rest of the industry.
Oh.
Did I say that? I meant that with love.
So as someone who used to work with the U.S. federal government, I will neither confirm or deny your claims.
Yeah,
I realize I've just offended about 20% of the U.S. Population by workforce.
You know what? Any large bureaucracy, you can find terrible, horrible things. So anyway, Jonathan, I'm glad you didn't sign it, and hopefully they will stop sending that nonsense.
Well, so they did end up offering me $1,000 bounty, but the provision was they can't offer it to me in cash because it's because I didn't sign the NDA. So they were offering me. I said, can you give me like $1,000 Amazon gift card? And they said no, but we're willing to buy you $1,000 of items off of a wish list.
What?
Yes.
That's strange.
This is
convoluted.
Like you have
like barter.
Well, they originally offered me $1,000.
Go to the grocery store, buy some
credit.
gift cards, and
I know they originally offered me $1,000 of AWS credit. And I'm like, I don't use AWS that much. And so then I said this, and now I'm just like, okay, can you just my final answer is, can you double it and give $2,000 to the EFF?
nice.
All right, I don't really want to play this game. Can you just you donate the money and double it? So we'll see if that flies. If not, maybe I'm getting $1,000 in new apartment stuff because we're moving. So. All right, I'll send the link into the chat.
Okay.
And Sham, my intern, has been a good part of this whole project. He and I worked on data flow analysis and control flow analysis together, and he wouldn't have been as successful as it was without him being present in this project. So thank you to him as well.
Congrats to you both.
Yeah.
Amir, your hands up.
Yeah, I'd love to bring something up, but you did mention Munawar giving an update, and I think he dropped when you mentioned that, but he has since rejoined. So I'd love to not to jump ahead of someone. If Munawar, if you want to give an update first, and then I can jump in next if you like.
Hey, yeah, so I just joined this meeting for the first time. So I'm slowly trying to find my foot in like the different working groups. So this is the first time I'm joining this particular group. I typically frequent the Alpha Omega meeting, frequent as in like I've been there for the last couple of meetings, but yeah, I mean, so my interest has been, so we are building a bug detection tool that has, that detects bugs with very low false positive and also finds bugs that other tools miss. And so I've been working with Michael to basically like create a POC for an ambitious project where I want to scan the entire PyPy repository automatically, all 3.5 million artifacts in that, and basically generate automated pull requests if the bugs are valid. So right now we're doing a POC with 100-something projects, finding bugs. These are all the top Python projects. It's available at pypy.openrefactory.com. So right now we're reviewing the results and seeing that if the results have a high concentration of true positive, we can actually generate automated pull requests for that. But I was interested in what Jonathan was saying, as in like, what are the consequences of like a bot generated pull request, like whether they will be ignored or not, even if they're serious or not. So I'm just learning, but at the same time, yeah, hi everybody. I'd like to be frequent in these meetings in future. Thanks.
I will absolutely chat with you more about this. I do recommend watching the talk. But I had one vulnerability that I tackled, which was the HTTP downloader dependencies in Maven build files. That was the first project that I did pull request generation for. And I generated 1,596 pull requests for that. And as of 2019 was, no, 2020 when I did it. And as of now, we have about a 40% merge rate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not bad, right? Like that's a decent number of pull requests merged to fix this issue. So
yeah, the reason why I want to align it with Alpha Omega folks and specifically like OpenSSF in particular is that perhaps also creates some weight in like when these pull requests are being sent, as in like this is approved or sent by OpenSSF as well. So that stamp of approval would probably nudge people more towards that. Again, like I'm trying to find this thing in real time now to see like what is the ideal approach to go to. I will like connect with Michael about a specific update, like about like he was also reviewing the results, so I would appreciate some update from him at some point.
Yep. Can we touch base either later today or tomorrow? I do have some updates for you. I just have been buried.
You do need to be really careful with the formatting. If you're not matching the formatting the surrounding code, you're going to get maintainers that are not happy.
Yes,
it's one of the things we've learned. Very, it's important. So yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks. Good feedback. I will get in touch with you at some point as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for everybody else, I posted a link to the Open Refactory thing in the meeting notes. Feel free to take a look. It's a list of projects, and you click in, and then you see the diff, so you can see what the issue is and drill in and whatnot. So feedback useful there. Cool. Let's see other topics. Actually, I didn't have it. Did anybody else have other topics? Otherwise, we can just kind of do strategic kind of open brainstorming.
I had one. So I don't know if this would be the best group, or maybe if I should just join one of the next Alpha Omega public meetings. But a couple of cool things. So one, we have some impact reports coming out real soon, kind of just basically summarizing and aggregating some of our works, especially for the first half of the year. To give us kind of a sneak preview, like Jonathan did, kind of build off of that. Some of our recent audits, we have resulted in over 130 security fixes and improvements, and 45 CVEs reported and fixed. and a little over 50 fuzzers, so new tools built for these different projects that we've worked with. So going along with that, we're thinking now into especially next year into 2023 and to start kind of putting some things together in terms of getting more audits done. And I wonder if it would make sense to approach y'all on the alpha side, especially, and maybe work with y'all on coming up with, maybe even if we want to start with a couple. I don't know the best way to do that in terms of kind of separation of duties, but I'd love to maybe explore that with the alpha team to see if we want to start putting like a work package together of some projects and just start auditing them and continuing this good thing we've got going in terms of finding all these security issues and making the fixes. So is that something you think maybe I should get on maybe with in the next Alpha Omega public meeting?
We could either do the public meeting, or we have a less public meeting that we talk every week on more internal stuff. But kind of, I think the question is aligning on like, so right now we've sponsored or granted, or whatever you want to call it. We've given money to Node, Eclipse, and Python. We have one more in the hopper that we're hoping to announce soon. That'll put us at close to 2 of the 5 million that we have available allocated, plus hiring. That'll get us to like 3 and change. So we do have a PM resource that's becoming available, and perhaps a product manager resource that's becoming available. So that'll round out the let's get us unbottlenecked on Michael Windsor and my kind of available time to do this stuff. And I think at that point, it's good to say, okay, so we've done a handful of these larger ecosystem systemic projects. What about the, let's say the OpenSSLs and zlibs of the world, the ubiquitous single library projects, and does it make sense to do audits of those, and how do we coordinate, and how do we make sure that what we're doing is affects longer term improvements to the project and things like that. So I think that totally makes sense. I wouldn't want you to put a lot of work into like coming up with that list before we have that discussion of like, is that the next, like, would it make sense to just put a pile of money that we have into and pick 10 projects and kind of do those. So I think that's a great conversation. I will make sure that we sync with you. Feel free to reach out and ping us and stuff. But the Alpha Omega Slack channel, feel free to talk about it there too.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, no, I'm thinking, especially once we have these at least this first impact report published, I think we'll have a really strong case study basically showing that, hey, we've partnered with this organization, we've done some audits, and we've, made some good, had some good results, and would like to do it on more scale. So definitely. So I'll keep in touch with you over the coming weeks, and yeah, maybe I'll get in on one of your meetings and chat.
Perfect. Awesome.
Thank you.
Cool. For other folks, are there things that we should be doing that we're not? Are there things that we're doing that we should stop doing? Wait, what does it say? Should we change? Should we do more or less of things? Are there emerging threats that we're not really thinking about? Doesn't have to be structured, doesn't have to be well thought out. What does everybody think?
Are we enough to lead all the projects that we have at the moment?
Oh, that's another one. Are we spread too thin? Sure. But I would suppose that if somebody had a great idea right now that said, and we all agree, like, wow, this is the most important thing that we should be doing, then we should be doing that and dropping something else. But I just want to make sure that we're not so hyper focused on project status and kind of incremental improvements to those things that we're not looking at, like, this giant other thing that we should be thinking about. So there was the report, there was a tweet or something I think it was just yesterday. It was in the general channel about 35,000 GitHub repositories getting pull requests accepted that had
A malicious link, yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't pull request murder. It was 35,000 repositories, the examples of potentially malicious code, but it looks like I saw that thing. It was like mostly about like the main, like it was typo squatting or name squatting or like a lot of that stuff around like, you know, are you looking for this repository? Oh, this is the one you're probably looking for, and then that having malicious code in it, not like
right.
potentially ended up in the supply chain.
Right. So, but I think, you know, keeping an eye on those types of threats. So, you know, give a little bit of insight. So my internal team with my Microsoft hat, you know, we do kind of at scale analysis of projects as they are published. We do, you know, as a new package is published in NPM, we do some checks. Depending on the output of that, we will report them to NPM and get them taken down and things like that. And I'm starting to wonder whether or not that work would be better situated within OpenSSF because it benefits the ecosystem. I don't think there's anything proprietary in there that we wouldn't feel comfortable, you know, making public. There is an operational overhead, like there's a cost to it, but OpenSSF has budget for that. There's a people cost because it takes time to go through these things, and you know, we want to automate them, but for now it's a little painful. But I want to get thoughts on whether or not essentially an open source ecosystem SIM is kind of how we're thinking about it internally, would make sense from an OpenSSF perspective to run. That was my idea for the day.
Don't all jump at once.
I'm taking silence to mean this is the greatest idea I've ever heard in my life.
Exactly.
Sure. Oh.
Whatever happened to office hours? The like maintainer office hours security people. Was that in this group or was that somewhere else?
No, it is in this group. Marta runs that. She's not here today. But I think we're having the first one, I think later this month. There was an office hour Slack channel with a link to the proposal and the doodle poll to participate and things like that.
Nice. One last thing I'll say, it's a little unrelated, but I did really think that we were on a good track with metrics.openssf.org. I know that's going to continue and be augmented, but I just think it just makes so much sense to have a relatively simple way to, you know, access some of these different data points that normally are maybe a little harder to access kind of on an individual level. But if I could just type in, you know, open source project X and, you know, get a good overview of the security scorecard and the criticality score, and integrating all these great tools that are out there and integrating it in different ways, I just think that it would just be so helpful. It'd be such a value add to the ecosystem. So I definitely don't think, and I know this wasn't the plan, but I don't think we should axe metrics.openssf.org and, you know, just augment it however we can. And I know folks are working hard on that, but I just think it's such a useful tool, and I just want to advocate for it again, that I think it's something that could be really useful for a lot of folks.
Yep, makes sense. I mean, I think, well, Christine, feel free to jump in, but I don't think anybody's advocating for like the removal of the functionality. It's just like, let's build it and maintain it and like do it for reals.
Yeah, it's kind of like just a question of like, what's the decision? Are we still trying to do a go for it? Kind of like, that's basically what we want to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, are there, so we had actually, this is going back last year. I don't know how budgets work in LF, but we did have a $40,000 budget to hire, you know, a basic contractor for a little bit to build metrics.openssf.org. And it turned out that at the time it was just the overhead to manage that was more than the value. So we just did it. But maybe that equation is different, and maybe that money's still available. Even if it's not, I think that, you know, perhaps as part of stream 2, pushing this forward might be, you know, might be something that we could actually fund. It's also, like, realistically, it's probably maybe 20 or 30 hours worth of work to, like, you know, fix the refresh and kind of do minor updates. It's not super complicated. It's just time down.
I think step 1 is either create the proposal, or I mean, you could just dust off the old one, but I suspect things have changed, so it really probably. But I think create a proposal, send it up the flagpole. You won't get what you don't ask for. So
I frequently get what I don't ask for. So
well, that's a different challenge. But in all seriousness, I think step 1 is to try to. It doesn't have to be, you know, you don't have to give the blow by blow, hour by hour. What's the end state? Some approximate idea of how to get there. You know, rough estimate on costs. You know, but some reasonable proposal. In the end, I think it's going to have to be approved by the governing board, unless the governing board's already approved it within an existing scope. But that's okay. That's what they're there for.
Yep. So maybe I'll put out there that if there's anybody that wants to, like, actually work on this from an engineering perspective, it's Linux, it's a little bit of Python, it's Grafana, it's some Docker. That's it. It's happy to, like, hand the keys, so to speak.
Yeah, I think the key problem is trying to figure out its relationship with, like, LFX security and with other things like deps.dev. I mean, right now, deps.dev is really much more focused on deps for very specific ecosystems, which is understandable. LFX security, they've always been very concerned about expanding the scope to all open source software. That is a plausible outcome. But if that's not reasonable, then, you know, growing what's there is plausible too. But just we need to figure out a reasonable story that makes sense.
Yeah, that's true. That's kind of where we're going down the line. Like, how is it related to dev and all the other metrics? Exactly.
Right. Yeah, and I will say, you know, the Chaos folks, for example, have worked very, very hard on identifying metrics. And there's an Augur tool where if you really want to delve into metrics for a particular project, oh my gosh, they got all sorts of cool stuff you can learn. But I think what most people want is I go click and I get the key information and off I go. You know, OpenHub used to be at least in that ballpark, but I don't think it's really been maintained for a while. You know, deps.dev could be that, LFX security could be that, but we need to figure out that story. I do think that LFX security probably should be at least part of that story, but I don't know. That's what we need to work out.
Makes sense. Roderick?
Yeah, hi. I would be interested in contributing to that. I don't know Python, so but this is
it's literally like 200 lines. It's super. It's not interesting at all. But no, that would be awesome. Let me. I don't have your last. Are you in Slack?
I think I am. So let me make sure.
Yeah. I will. Blanton? Roderick Blanton? Is that you?
Yes, that's me.
Perfect.
Today it is.
Awesome. I see you in Slack. I will reach out to you and we'll sync up, and then Christine will sync back. I think this might just be let's keep the lights on metrics so that it, you know, the certs don't expire and we can refresh it more than once an eon. We are at time. Thank you all very much for contributions and chat and everything. This was a really good meeting. We will sync up again in 2 weeks. And in the meantime, expect the doodle poll from me later today. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All you gotta say is hola. That's it. It's time to say hola.